Just a couple of days until the NFL playoffs kick off. We've drafted tons of playoff best ball teams. We're near the end of the grind, but we're still trying to figure out how to win with the teams we're drafting right now. How do we beat some of the teams that maybe feel a little bit better from a few weeks ago? How do we draft teams that are constructed a little bit differently? Should we structure our teams differently? Should we draft some different NFL teams than we were drafting for? How do we put together some stuff right now in our playoff best ball drafts to win $1 million on DraftKings or $500,000 on Underdog, whatever? How do we take home all the money right now? What are some different levers we can pull? That's what we're going to do today. And of course, we're going to draft some playoff best ball teams. That's what we do here at Spike Week. Let's do it. All right, what is today? Thursday? Happy Thursday? Yeah, happy Thursday. I'm all thrown off. There's football tonight, college football tonight. We got NFL this weekend, NFL all the way to Monday. They really screwed the pooch, ending the week with Steelers, Texans. We got a fun few days of football here, and we have to deal with a slugfest in Pittsburgh of the Houston Texans and the Pittsburgh Steelers, but it's going to be wonderful. Nonetheless, I'm super excited for this weekend. If you've not joined us before, we would love if you would hit the thumbs up and the subscribe button, all that fun stuff. And we're getting ready to be in 2026 fantasy football season. We will have initial 2026 fantasy football and best ball rankings out very soon. They are in work right now. I'm working on some post-mortem content as well as some 2026 content. It never stops. We're going to get through this week. There's going to be more playoff best ball next week as they launch some second chance contests on all of these sites. But if you're not a subscriber to Spike Week, you get access to everything that we do, right? We got baseball incoming. We're going to dive deep into baseball, but we're going to be ready for big board on Underdog and all this 2026 fantasy football stuff. I believe FFPC is also launching one of their contests in a couple weeks, like 2 weeks, something like that. So the grind never stops. That's what we do here. But we're of course, we're here to talk about playoff best ball. I've been thinking a lot this week why this show is kind of right. I forget even what I titled the playoff best ball tactics to put into play in your drafts right now. What are you doing in your drafts right now? It's very easy, I think, in the playoff best ball landscape to be like, here's what, right? So someone might say, fill out a bracket. Here's who you think is going to advance. And then there'll be some nuance to that, right? I say Eagles are going to play, right? As South says, Eagles are going to play the Jags in the Super Bowl. Is what he fills out a bracket. He says Eagles and the Jags are going to play in the Super Bowl. Now, how do I construct my teams based upon this thing that I'm kind of predicting? The problem is you're playing against other players. The prices change on all these guys. In particular, this Jags example is a good one because a lot of these contests, the Gauntlet, the DraftKings Milly, the Drafters $20 tournament have been open for quite some time. And so the Jaguars, like I have Jaguars teams from when I very first started drafting them on DraftKings specifically, where, I have these guys at the very end, right? Travis Etienne, Trevor Lawrence, like even not that long ago, Parker Washington, who is now like the trendiest. Everybody's a big Parker Washington stan nowadays. Parker Washington was a last round pick who was freely available, in the last round or the last 2 rounds. Now you have to draft him in like the 4th or 5th round of these playoff best ball drafts. It doesn't mean that you can't draft the Jaguars, but thinking about how these teams come together at different pockets within different pockets of time is such an important variable of how we draft our teams, right? So just using this example again, the Jaguars and the Eagles were one you could have drafted at all, like all the good guys from both of those teams a month ago. Now you can't really get that necessarily. You can still get really good Jags and Eagles Super Bowl teams. Should you continue to draft that? Should you now move on to a Super Bowl that you don't really necessarily think is most likely? That's the kind of stuff that we have to figure out here, right now in this moment, because when we drafted before, we were putting ourselves at risk of drafting a couple things, drafting players from teams that just don't even make, right? I have Ravens. I got some Mike Evans stuff, right? Very early on, you got Chiefs and Lions and all these teams that did not even end up making the playoffs. Jonathan Taylor, I didn't draft in the way too early tournament on Underdog, but people who've shared, shout out to the folks in the Discord, which of course there's a link to it and you get access to it. It's just $5 a month if you only want to be a part of the Discord, not get everything, but it does come free as part of your premium subscription to Spike Week. And the folks in the Discord who've been drafting since, for months now for playoff best ball, Jonathan Taylor was like the 102 on Underdog in like the way too early contest. Obviously, the Colts did not make the playoffs. So in these tournaments, like say the DraftKings Milly, which is almost full, by the way, for anybody that is interested in trying to win $1 million in playoff best ball. What happened before absolutely should inform our strategy right now. It's not just about picking the Super Bowl champions. And so how do you play this, right? Should you just say, oh crap, I can't draft that team now because they're more expensive? Not necessarily. However, here's an example of something that like a tactic, if you will, a lever that I'm pulling, and we'll get to some drafts. I don't like the Pittsburgh Steelers. Okay. I don't think they're very good. I'm going to pick the Texans to win. However, how do I still draft things like Jags, Eagles, Super Bowl? How do I still draft things like whoever has risen, right? Anyone who has risen. How do I draft, right? The Jaguars are just a really, really easy example. But how do I draft some stuff that other people got better prices and everything? Been a Steelers truther your whole life? Definitely not. Also, definitely not an Aaron Rodgers truther. But I think the Texans win this game. But how do I combat the fact that there are teams drafted right a month ago in this tournament, that there are some teams that are like incredible? I have some of them, luckily. I also have a lot of dead ones, right? Shout out to, like I said, those Evans teams and Lamar teams. You also drafted teams where you didn't know who was going to play in the first round. You drafted Patriots and Chargers. You drafted Jags and Bills. You drafted Eagles and 49ers, right? Yeah, oh, shoot, right? You drafted CMC and AJ Brown on the same team. Like, it's not over, but it's not optimized, right? And so how do I combat this now? Well, who would those teams not have? Some of them are going to have, right, some of those weird dead spots or sacrificing players in the first round because they play each other, whatever. But they're not going to have the Pittsburgh Steelers. The Pittsburgh Steelers are the 4 seed. They're playing a home game in the first round, and they're 3-point dogs to the Houston Texans. They can win this game. Then the most likely scenario, it's not a guarantee, but the most likely scenario then is that they play, because they're the 4 seed, that they would likely play the 1 seed. That's the Denver Broncos. No one likes the Denver Broncos. Could they beat the Denver Broncos? Sure they could. The key to last year's playoff best ball, we all remember the huge Ladd McConkey game years ago. If you played playoff best ball, what is this, 3 years ago? Jake Ferguson explodes for like 40 fantasy points or whatever in round 1, but the Cowboys lose. Same thing happened to Ladd McConkey, but what really was the key, and what is generally the key, is someone that wins, and ideally, if you draft them, someone that makes a run in the playoffs, like the Washington Commanders of last season, that is unforeseen. How did you get your Chiefs teams through to the finals? It's like, well, Jaden Daniels, Terry McLaurin, Zach Ertz, right? De'Ami Brown even, right? Those guys helped you got to use them for 3 games. And they were good, useful fantasy assets. Now, I'm not saying the Pittsburgh Steelers are going to be that, but you want to uncover that thing. And if it's a thing that no one else had in those early rounds, right? How do I beat them? It's this, right? Maybe you believe in the Carolina Panthers more than I do. The Carolina Panthers would be another example of this. I mean, I think you can do it. Rick mentions the chart, right? The Chargers. First of all, the Chargers can beat the Broncos. Chargers have beat the Broncos, correct? The Chargers can absolutely beat the Broncos. I'm not picking that, but it's so wide open. And look, the Patriots are better than the Los Angeles Chargers. Are the Patriots infallible? are the Chargers incapable of this? They're not the fucking Jets, right? Like the Chargers can beat the New England Patriots. Those kinds of things that can springboard your teams through. That's the kind of stuff that we're looking for. Stuff that those other teams didn't have, or your other teams right now aren't drafting for those kind of scenarios. That's the kind of stuff I'm looking to try to uncover. Pairing teams together in terms of what my Super Bowl would be is the other thing, right? So we kind of talked about ADP. We kind of talked about, right, like what's available to us now. But then like there's just certain combinations of Super Bowls that people will not pair together. That doesn't mean that you're picking that Super Bowl. I don't think that the Chicago Bears are going to make it to the Super Bowl. I don't think that the Los Angeles Chargers are going to make it to the Super Bowl, or the Pittsburgh Steelers, or what have you. But tossing them in there and having that, right, you have your Eagles. So if anybody has listened to me or talked to me in the Discord or used the Spike Week rankings, you will know that the Philadelphia Eagles are like essentially my biggest stand. That's the team I'm drafting. Tons of Eagles and Rams. If somebody else makes it out of a little bit of the Seahawks, a little bit of Bears, what have you, but the Eagles and the Rams are the thing that I ultimately need the most in the NFC. If something happens in the AFC, I don't want to be locked out of it because I was unwilling to consider the possibility that the Los Angeles Chargers would make it. Now we all have to make cuts. Here's another interesting part of it is like, I do think, especially right now, everyone you're drafting against is not drafting any of those dead spots. They all have live players. If you draft on DraftKings 12, on Underdog 10, if you draft against everyone right now, like, and you just say, I'm just going to draft everybody, right? I'm going to take what the room gives me. That's like, okay, but you're going to spread your chips out really thin, right? You're trying to cover every number, right? If you cover every number of a roulette board, you lose. If you cover every number of a playoff best ball, scenario or whatever, you probably lose because you don't, even if you have the right Super Bowl combination, you probably don't advance it because you don't have enough of them, right? Then you fall victim to Jake Ferguson, you fall victim to Lab McConkey, what have you. So I do think, especially right now, earlier on when it was really unclear, I think you could kind of like spread your chips out a little bit because the whole point of drafting a month ago was just like to kind of soak up, like, I don't really know who's going to be the great expected value here, but like just by the sheer force of drafting early, we can try to predict it, right? It ended up kind of just being the Jaguars, a little bit of Patriots, Bears, I guess. You were just using like the timing of the draft as your advantage and a little bit of brain power. Now you're like, none of that is to your advantage. So I do think it is smart to like make some cuts. We're all going to have different ones. Mine are the 49ers and the Bills. I feel much more uncomfortable about the Bills. I don't really feel that uncomfortable about the 49ers. I understand why someone would say you're an idiot for that. But I think the 49ers are very extremely flawed. They're extremely banged up. Doesn't sound like Trent Williams or Ricky Pearsall are going to play. In this game, they lost another linebacker. They're on their fourth starting linebacker. Obviously, Nick Bosa is out. Brandon Ayuk hasn't played all season. Juwan Jennings is playing with like broken ribs. Hasn't cleared like 60-something receiving yards in like forever. He's truly horrendous from a yards per route run perspective. He's just boosting up his fantasy stats with some touchdowns. But I'm taking that stand, and I think everyone should kind of choose where those stands lie. Doesn't have to be kind of as big as the ones that I'm making, but how do you place your chips? How do you get your money in on the things that you think are most advantageous? It's by removing some things from your board, right? How do you get different combinations of players? How do you make sure that the advance rate gods don't destroy you, even though you hit on something? It is to take a little bit of a stand. Then the last thing I'll say is right now, again, what changes from drafts that happened before, and if you're just now drafting now, I apologize. But the shifting landscape is really important because you have to know what all of your opponents have, right? That's the thing that when we talk about playoff baseball, people, well, who's going to go to the Super Bowl? How many quarterbacks do I take? How many, do I do 4, 2, 2, 2? Do I do 3, 3? Do I do whatever? And it's like, that's part of it. But also, like, a lot of that doesn't really matter. As long as you have a Super Bowl, that's like a viable one, right? If you have all the crappy Bills and crappy Rams, like, if you don't have Puka or Josh Allen or James Cook, or whatever, it's like Stafford and Tutu and Tyler Higbee. Like, okay, that's not really a viable Super Bowl. But as long as you have like a reasonably viable Super Bowl, the team is probably good. But before, you could really like correlate a lot of your, like, you would call them secondary stacks or one-offs or whatever, right? And like, well, if I'm going to take, and you can still do a little bit of this, but being more willing to kind of break from the rubric that we give ourselves in terms of how we put together teams of like 3 Eagles, 3 Broncos, and like 6 dudes that just like, whatever, push this team through for as many rounds as I can get, right? I know I need help in round 1 because the Broncos are on a bye. And then I know, the Broncos are going to come in round 2. So if I lose a couple guys, well, I got the Broncos now, and they're going to be a little bit lower owned. And so once make it to the conference finals, like if you just got a team, if you can fill out a roster in the conference championships, would it be more ideal to have like a fully loaded roster in the conference championship? Absolutely. But that's a little bit more achievable, a little bit more. It's not impossible now, but it's a little bit more achievable in those early drafts where you're going to have, if you go look back at some of your early drafts, if you did them, some of the teams you're facing are like stone cold dead. Somebody, I forget who it was. I apologize for not remembering which user it was. But again, in the Discord posted like a way too early team that is just sick. Like, all the good Rams, got the crazy good Jags prices, got like as full all 10 guys. It was an underdog draft, all 10 guys viable. And I believe only one other team can like even fill out a lineup in round 1. Like, that's the dream. That's not the case anymore. All 5 of your opponents in every single draft are going to have, generally speaking, there's some bad drafters out there that will screw things up, draft too many bye weeks or whatever. But generally speaking, like, it's much tougher to get out of round 1 now. It's going to be tougher in these drafts to figure out a way out of round 1. So how do we like put all this stuff together, shake it up? It's like, it's all of these different things. And then in each draft, right, how do we handle it? Give, what the room is going to give us. Ultimately, we do have to take what the room gives us. We don't get to make every pick. Other people get to make their own selections. And so how do we kind of package all this shit up and turn it into teams that can win $1 million is very, very difficult. But I think it's kind of combining all those different factors. And then, of course, from whatever room that you're in, I lean a lot more to some of these teams that have emerged now. The ownership numbers are so much lower, right? Kenny Gainwell's like lower owned than Jahmyr Gibbs or Derrick Henry or something like that, right? Like, think about that. That's crazy. He might play multiple playoff games, and he's like a fantasy viable, and he's a late round pick, and he's low owned and can help you get through, could help you get through multiple rounds. Are the Steelers going to Super Bowl? Probably not. I'm certainly not picking them. But like, how do we take that? And then how do we force some teams through against these teams that are also going to be strong in round 1? And then how do we also make sure that we're getting teams that once we make it to the Super Bowl can win? Right? It's like, how do we get all that stuff? It's tricky, but there's a lot of ways to do it, I think. I certainly do not have all of the answers, but that's a lot of the stuff that I'm going to be trying to do in my remaining drafts. I did want to see super quickly. I want to go through your guys' comments, and then we're going to do some drafts. Did the Milly fill yet? Almost. So there's about 3,000 spots left in the DraftKings Milly. I just wanted to shout that out for everyone. Just spilled some water on myself. Let's see. Look ahead line from Rick Broncos would be, so like sub touchdown favorites at home against the Steelers. The 1 seed, not even, against a team that was seconds away from not making the playoffs in the Steelers. Like, that's pretty crazy, right? And I draft a bunch of Broncos. We didn't touch on that in this first little 20-minute monologue, but the buy stuff is a sort of a fixture of my strategy as well. I know the NFC, I didn't really mention the Seahawks, but I've drafted more Seahawks than probably before, because people get really thirsty for the guys who are not on bye in some of these drafts. Now, understandably so, but if I can get the 1 seeds and like find a way to get it through, like even if I'm using like some of those guys as one-offs or certainly secondary stacks as opposed to my main stack, like I think that's great. Guaranteeing myself guys in the second round is a tricky thing. It's very hard to do right now. So if I can still get myself with enough projection in round 1 and get myself guarantees in round 2, even better. Chargers will be playing the Broncos next, says Jamie. You love to see it. I love the bold call. Speaking of 2 mules, said that the Chiefs were going to miss the playoffs. It was an outstanding call. Shout out to you. I don't remember what I said. I probably said that they were going to make it. I still kind of think like the peak Chiefs were easily one of the top teams in the NFL. I still feel like that about the Ravens. So we're coping hard over here. I'm hoping, Rick. Saquon Nuke week, says Rick, incoming this week. He's my highest owned like early round player. He's got to be up there, as I haven't checked today. He's up there as one of my highest owned overall players, Saquon Barkley. So we're hoping. Excited to need. Yeah. Did Hampton practice today? I don't know if they practice. I assume they practiced. Yeah. Let's see. That's not helpful. I see nothing. Working off to the side with the trainer today. Jesus Christ. Okay. So, yeah. Kamani Vidal's, yeah, he's in our rankings. When we go through a draft here, I will pull up where he is in the rankings, but it's certainly possible that Kamani Vidal is the guy that is the late round running back that can really help in round 1. I still sort of think Hampton is going to play, but I'm, who am I to say? They said I did read Harbaugh's quote from yesterday, which was like, he's working really hard. We'll see, basically, was the general take that Harbaugh gave. I just want to make sure I don't screw it up for you guys. Amarian Hampton won't practice. Amarian is doing everything and anything he can to get back. He's progressing. So he also said, I think Justin Herbert is the best that ever was. So yeah, whatever. Harbaugh is a trip, but I love it. See, Jamie is taking this. If the Chargers, this is the thing, you don't even need the Chargers to make the Super Bowl. And so last year, Jamie has 40% lad through 400 drafts. Last year, my whole strategy, and right, I had a great playoff best ball last year. I got 3 teams to the DraftKings Milly. I didn't even max it. I got 3 teams to the DraftKings Milly final. I didn't win it, but I don't know. The 30th place or something was my best team. It was great. I had 3 shots at winning whatever is 500K, I think, last year. And my whole strategy actually was double buy. Chiefs Lions. I went into every draft trying to get Chiefs Lions as my Super Bowl, but they were both the 1 seeds. So that informed like the rest of my exposure. I had a ton of Lad last year, hilariously. Lad, Nico, whatever. But you know who I had a ton of because of that? Which this is how it can work out in multiple. The double buy thing can work out in multiple ways because of this exact scenario that happened last year. The Lions lost. The Lions played 1 game. The Lions were some of my highest owned players. And the Lions played 1 game and got boat raced by the Washington Commanders, who just fired Cliff Kingsbury or whatever, had a mutual parting of ways after having such a bad season. So you would think, oh my God, he built all of his teams for Lions and Chiefs. It should be over. But the Commanders were what helped me build my double buy teams. So the Commanders end up, right? I drafted some Eagles, like secondary stacks and one-offs stuff. You can't get the Lions in every single draft, right? But the Commanders were such a pillar of that strategy. Like, I didn't need the Commanders to win. They were the most important thing of last year. If you didn't draft Commanders, Like if you just said, well, the Commanders are never going to make the Super Bowl, I'm not going to draft those guys. You lost. It was over because they were the most important pieces, even more important than Ladd last year. The Commanders were the most important pieces because of what Jaden Daniels did and what Terry McLaurin did. And Zach Ertz filling the tight end spot on sites like DraftKings and Drafters with the tight end. Even like Brian Robinson scraping together like double-digit points, whatever. Those guys were so important helping push teams through that, like, even though they didn't make the Super Bowl, which is really the most important thing, they're what got your Eagles and your Chiefs specifically into the finals. So if you were then able to have an Eagles Chiefs team, there was a lot of Commander stacks, right? So there was a lot of people that had Chiefs, and I had a team like this that had no Eagles on it that made the finals, right? Had Commanders with Chiefs and Lions, of course. And like, okay, well, that team's dead. Now, if you were able to get through with the Eagles, you had a live shot to win it, but you needed the Commanders to get you there. 49ers would be 5 to 7 point dogs in the next round, even if they won. Yeah, I kind of am shocked that they're not 5 to 7 point dogs in this round, but I know everybody hates the Eagles. I get it. I don't like watching the Eagles either, but it should be a pretty manageable first 2 games at least for the Philadelphia Eagles, but we shall see. I could see a closer, Brad says, I could see a closer spread versus the Bears. Didn't they beat them 2 weeks ago? Can they play they can't play the Bears, right? No, they can't. Yeah, they can. Hold on. The Bears are the 2. Yeah, for some reason I was thinking that the Bears were the 7. That's how bad that's how fraudulent the 2 seed is next to the Bears name. That I just like inherently. The Bears and the Packers are the Spider-Man meme to me, but they're playing each other in the first round, and one is a 2 seed and one is a 7 seed, and so my brain is broken from all of that. But yeah, the Bears. The Bears are just not that good. That being said, I have a ton of Luther Burden, a ton of Colston Loveland, a little bit of Swift, a little bit of Rome. Caleb is my if I'm building for, right, if I'm drafting a Bo Nix team or a Sam Darnold team, my priority quarterback is Caleb Williams. But again, it's fine. Like if they lose, it's fine. It's not ideal, but that team didn't die. It's not over. Yeah, Bears are a little healthier. 49ers are less healthy, but I think the 49ers can beat the Bears for sure. Steelers players can afford tickets to the game. Tell me what that means, Melch. And yes, there's a little bit, 12 extra hours or whatever for 10 extra hours, whatever it is for Hampton on Sunday. We will see if he plays. Jonathan said Casey was missing the playoffs this summer. That is certified nuts. It was certified nuts even halfway through this season, and it worked big time. Let's just this DK Milly filling fast. So let's hop on over there. I'm drafting mostly on DraftKings. We can pop on into Drafters, and if we want to do a gauntlet or something like that, I'm more than happy to do that as well. You guys can tell me what is most interesting to you. I'm fine with whatever. Let's move over here. So we got the 102. So as I mentioned, and you can see here on my screen. So first of all, if you have the Spike Week rankings, God dang it, I forget. I have to move Ricky Pearsall down. But anyway, if you have the Spike Week rankings, you'll see I have them loaded in here, and you'll see that I have Saquon Barkley at the 102. So, Eric, why do you have 55% of Saquon Barkley? Well, probably because he's my 102, and the Eagles are my biggest stand of round 1. And assuming Jake 89 here doesn't take Saquon, which I will happily take Puka because Puka is my 101. I will happily take Puka, but if we don't, we'll take. The gauntlet filled. Yeah, the beautiful thing that we've learned this playoff best ball cycle is the popularity of this game is definitely growing. We can launch how many millions? How many? I haven't looked. We have a contest like tracker on the site, tournament selector. Let me see. Let me see if it's up to date with all the playoff best ball stuff. Yeah. So let's see. Current. Okay. So 3 million. 3, 6, 7. I mean, we're talking about like what we're gonna fill $10 million of playoff best ball contest. That's nuts. That's crazy. The game is, people are falling in love with God's game, playoff best ball. Henny says, "Are you hedging with a bet on San Francisco?" No, I'm gonna bet the Eagles, brother or sister. I apologize if I just call people brother all the time. I guess it came from, I don't know why I do it. Probably the Hulkster and the wrestling days from when I was younger, growing up in that generation. I just call people brother. But how I approach betting fantasy, DFS season long, really like anything in life, but particularly if I'm putting money on something, I think hedging is, unless you're like in a financial situation to where it's like it would be irresponsible to you, to your family, whatever, to not make sure that you profited from this scenario. I'm not a fan of hedging. I will continue to tell this, and I am working on something around this concept. But you guys know that I love the movie and the concept and the book and everything, Moneyball, right? From baseball to Oakland athletics. And but there's a quote from the movie where Jonah Hill is questioning, right? Like, are we really going to do this? You know, like, this is pretty crazy, even for us. And Brad Pitt just stops him and he says, "Do you believe in this thing or not?" Right. And that is my general stance on really like anything gambling related, sports speculation, right? Fantasy, whatever. It's like, do you believe in this thing or not? And then we'll take KJ Brown. This is a very typical Eric Eagles team. Hedging feels like taking a smaller bet but paying the juice. Warehouse says Hulkamania runs wild, brother. But yes, just like insurance and blackjack, it's a sucker. And it's definitely not necessarily a sucker's bet. I mean, cashing out of a bet, unless there was like an injury or something that changed something, is a sucker play for sure. But I think we got it. So one thing that I've been doing, like I only have 27% Hertz. I've been mixing it up a little bit with, I'm going to take Hertz, but I've been mixing it up a little bit. See, so these three guys have quarterbacks. This guy doesn't have an Eagle. They're more likely to take a Devontae Smith one-off than they are to take Jalen Hurts. I shouldn't say that. He may Z-Reb, like if he can double tap Hurts, Devontae, or Hurts Goddard might do that here in the 106. But I've been trying, because so let's say I pass on Jalen Hurts there and I take Devontae Smith. I still have three Eagles, and now we just go attack the AFC side, right? Hope that Lawrence comes back to us, or we draft the Broncos or the Chargers, right? May and Allen are gone, of course, but CJ Stroud, whatever tickles your fancy, whichever AFC team you prefer. I tend to go more towards the Broncos. I shouldn't say that. I actually start with the Jags, but as you see, there goes Lawrence. Lawrence goes off the board fairly quickly now. If Lawrence doesn't come back to me, it's like, okay, that's fine. We'll take the Broncos. Like, we'll take Sutton, and then we'll take Knicks. And it's totally fine. But I also think, in an ideal world, you want the Eagles. But I don't think it's – I think you can mess around with it, basically. Like, there's no way to find out if you can get, like, stuff to fall to you without trying it. If you never try to push anything, It's never going to actually happen. That being said, now I'm going to take Dallas Goedert. Goddard is one of my highest owned players as well because of the tight end thing. Right. Nice. Look at this, 52% Parker Washington. I need to put my average ADP on here on the draft hacker. You can put the ADP you've gotten on the guy. And obviously all these percentages, if you never watched, this is the draft hacker, of course. So there goes Parker Washington. I'm going to take Ramondre to give me a Patriot. So now I have, I can go over here and go to the finals teams on this right-hand side of the board. So I already have 5 of Eagles and Patriots in a Super Bowl ready to go. Also have a lot more later wide receivers, generally speaking. I shouldn't say a lot more later wide receivers on teams that I actually think can make the Super Bowl. Right, the Gainwells, and we just talked about Hampton and whatever. How many? Not a ton. 70 millis or so. I haven't been going super crazy. I probably should have done more. I have a little bit of drafters fatigue, life fatigue. I wish I had done a little bit more. I'm gonna hammer them the rest of the day today until it fills. Is kind of my general plan of attack. I also thought I had longer. I was also slow playing it a little bit, being lazy. But we can maybe get to 100 or something. Then we'll crush some drafters the next couple of days. When you get Barkley, AJ, Hurts, do you take Goddard every time over Devontae Smith on DK? Not every time. And the only reason why, Jamie, this is a great question, is because sometimes Goddard will then fall back to you. I can show you after this draft is over. I have teams with all 5 of them in the DK Milly. I'm not even saying that's optimal. I'm just saying it's not impossible to get them all. So who came on? Okay, Broncos guys, Corum, Watson, Shakir. Okay. So let's give me. I want the Jags stuff, and then Strange gives me a second tight end. I don't really need it. I didn't really need necessarily a tight end, but I don't mind defaulting to the tight end anyway on DraftKings. I'm gonna need some wide receivers, of course. But anyway, hold on. What pick is this? 38. What's my next pick? I have to imagine. Yeah, the Lawrence guy is gonna take BTJ here. The 106. And look, I don't like BTJ either, but I like the Jaguars, and so I have him ranked well ahead of ADP, though he's the 5th Jaguars skill player in our rankings, but we're on the Jags here at Spike Week, which means go bet the Bills. But I need a wide receiver. This gives me, right? So now, as you see over here, again, what I do love about the draft hacker from this perspective is just immediately being able to see, all right, look, and this, I mean, this can win, right? Hurts, Saquon, AJ Brown, Brian Thomas, Dallas Goedert, Brenton Strange. If it's Jags, Eagles. Good, right? Eagles, Patriots. Now, this has to be a wide receiver, of course, because Ramondre goes to the flex and Goddard is at tight end, and I need a second wide receiver. But the Patriots have multiple guys. Don't have Diggs, but Booty is back here. Kyle Williams. I'm really struggling because I've still taken a sliver of this. Fucking Zoom is so annoying. I've been taking Kyle Williams and really struggling with it. Because Mac, if I'm taking Kyle Williams as like my fill out my Super Bowl, I don't think it's bad. Oh wow, we could use Burden to get through here if we wanted. let's do Burden. So I'm gonna do Burden, but not Loveland, right? So Burden one off, right? This is something that you like. Why are you taking a Bears one off on a 4 Eagles team? Like, well, I have AJ Brown and Brian Thomas Jr., and there ain't much left at wide receiver the rest of the way. I know I would like Kayshon Boutte. Yeah, perfect. We draft Kayshon Boutte, so now I don't need to worry about this Kyle Williams, Matt Collins stuff. I can go get some Steelers. I can go get some Chargers. I can go get some Texans. I can go get something else to fill out another Super Bowl here. And then there are also pieces that can help me in round 1. But so Matt Collins is on IR, right? Mac is very much so better, if healthy, than Kyle Williams as a fantasy asset. Mac was getting like 7, 8, 9 targets a game before he got hurt. He cannot be back until the conference championship game. So of course they got to get there, all the typical caveats. But once you've drafted the team for them to make it there, who gives a fuck? Will he come back? Like, is he actually going to? They haven't said shit about Mac's injury. I assume, like, my current assumption is that he'll be back if they make it to the conference championship game, but like, and at worst, he'll be back for the Super Bowl. So like, I go back and forth, but like, you're bringing on you're guaranteeing yourself this guy's not going to, he's basically a Super Bowl play. At best, the conference championship play. But like, is Kyle Williams any different? Like, I don't know. You know what I mean? Like, Kyle Williams could technically catch a touchdown in one of these first 2 games. But do I really want to, like, do I care? So I could do Broncos. My boy, Pat Bryant. We could do Broncos. We could do Steelers. No, Metcalf is gone anyway. Let's just do Broncos. How many? Yeah, because I don't need any more running backs. We got Saquon. Saquon's the golden goose. Ramondre is fine as another running back. I do need wide receivers. So we're going to load this sucker up with some wide receivers. And we're going to do Troy. So now we have, as you can see over here, Hurts, Saquon, AJ Brown, Pat Bryant, Troy Franklin, and Dallas Goedert. The interesting thing with the Broncos Super Bowl is with a lot of these, like I talked about, 40 minutes ago, it's like, do you have a viable Super Bowl that can win versus does it matter as much? And with a team like the Broncos, the only skill guys, if you take Pat Bryant and Troy Franklin as your fill out your Super Bowl pieces, the only pieces that you're missing are Cortland Sutton and RJ Harvey. Will the Broncos have a bye and they don't score that many fantasy points? Will the Broncos even if they make it, will they be represented enough to where you can't win with this? And then can Pat Bryant and like Troy Franklin just catch a touchdown? Sure they can. So it's team by team, right? Like if the Bears make it, let's say you draft Bears, Patriots, and that you fill out that Super Bowl. Like if you don't, like if you're drafting, like, no offense, DJ Moore and like Cole Kmet or some shit to fill out your team, like if the Bears and the Patriots make it to the Super Bowl, there's going to be the whole final is going to be those 2 teams, like with everybody having all the good players, going to be Chop City. So like, we have to sort of play it by ear with each team, like with the Broncos, with the Seahawks. With some of those teams, it's a little bit different. The Bills. How do we handle the Bills? I really should have paid attention here. How many receivers do I have? 6. But AJ Brown, Brian Thomas, but 2 of them are on bye. And one of them is Kayshon Boutte. And one of them is Brian Thomas. How about, I didn't do Steelers, right? How about little Jaden Higgins. Texans are going to win in this one. So we went, I've been really bad at recapping teams lately. We took Saquon out of the 102. AJ Brown, Jalen Hurts, Dallas Goedert, clearly. Eagles team wouldn't be an Erik team without plenty of Eagles. And we took Ramondre. Ramondre is just a great pick. Was such a screaming value for quite some time in drafts. People have gotten a little bit hip, just like to Parker Washington and such. But then we filled out a Jags Super Bowl with Strange, Brian Thomas Jr., Luther Burden one-off. Kayshon Boutte completes our Patriots and Eagles Super Bowl. And then we built a little Broncos Super Bowl as well. So obviously the Eagles need to make it, but then we have 3 different teams that can play from the AFC side. That feels good. And then a Jaden Higgins one-off, hopefully get us a couple of points in a couple of rounds, right? Obviously, he will have to go down to one of our other teams in the second round. But if we can get a couple games out of Jaden Higgins, help us out, get through, perfect. But anyway, this question, I got distracted. I prefer taking Dallas Goedert on DraftKings and drafters to Devontae Smith if you have AJ Brown because of the tight end thing, right? You kind of bet on AJ Brown. Now let's fill out the tight end spot instead of filling out wide receiver 2 because of how valuable that tight end thing is. But I don't do it every single time because sometimes I just want to see what happens. I don't want to have like very little Devontae. Like I don't want to have no Devontae on those teams. Like he could be the guy that you need in the Super Bowl or across the playoffs for sure. But I prefer. So every time, no. Most of the time, yes, is how I would answer that question. Henny says I take Dallas and I can get Dotson later if I miss on Smith. The one thing I'll say is that is true. You can get Jahan Dotson whenever you want. There's a reason, right? There's a reason. Yeah, exactly. We will know about Mac Hollins when he's walking around barefooted. Let's this one's closing. You guys can we can hang out and do this one's going to close in not that long if we're being honest. The DK Milly. So let's hang out here for a bit. We can do one of these. And then maybe we can pop over to drafters and try our luck at some cumulative. Oh boy, friends and family. Salf in here, Rick in here. We're doomed. Salf gets the 101, Rick at the 106. I don't know if Rob, what does that say? Rob Stang, still I rise. CW Sims. I don't know if any of you guys are in here, but if so, we got a real friends and family draft. Don't. If any of you fuckers post this on Twitter, the pitchforks will be out. The pitchforks will be out. Collusion. Cheaters. DraftKings doesn't have any processes in place at DK Assist. We monitor every user and every draft, and these guys get booted, the draft get canceled, and Best Ball Twitter is just gonna take and run with it. My dogs are wound up about it too now. Got to close the office door. The dogs, the integrity, the contest integrity hounds are out in the Beimfohr residence. Oh man, clip this. That's funny. No, I get it. Trust me, no one wants contest integrity more than myself. But like sometimes we should take a little bit of a breath. I think it's going to be okay. I can assure you, I know for a fact, DraftKings has these processes in place. How do you catch cheaters? Well, they need to cheat, right? And then you catch them, and it's going to be okay. Underdog and these other, like Underdog will send me a canceled BBM draft 3 months after I drafted, right? Like they all have to, like, it's a process. Got to figure things out. It's all going to be okay. It's all going to be okay. Beautiful. You guys get to watch me draft a bunch of Saquon teams. So I have to close my office door every time the dogs start howling like maniacs. I think I told you guys this, but they're husky shepherd mixes. They howl to the freaking moon. Like it's nuts. Like if a fire truck goes by or something like that. It's well, we gotta howl. Gotta join the fire truck in the woo woo every time. But I gotta close the office door. But then if I keep it closed, they'll be scratching on it like, Dad, what are you doing in there? Let's see. Okay, I'm doing another one, guys. I'm sorry. I know it's boring. But welcome to my life. Drafting endless of a lot of the same starts. There's another thing, though, from a playoff best ball perspective, is like people say, you're going to keep drafting the same team? And like in playoff best ball, yeah. In regular season best ball, like I don't really need a million of the same starts. Once I got, well, you can have multiple, but like once I got one or two, I don't want to have the same starts. I actually want to diversify those starts because they're not correlated, all that kind of stuff. If it's a good team, it's going to advance, whatever. I don't need multiple of those. I'd like to have different permutations. In this, it's very different. There's a lot of like pod luck. There's a lot of different things you tag on at the end that can really change that draft. And really the pod variance of like this, I could draft the same 12 guys on DraftKings and this one will not advance. And in another pod, it will advance. And maybe it's the nuts. Right. And I'm not necessarily setting out to draft the exact same 12 players a bunch of times, but the same start is I drafted a bunch. If you believe it's the best start, draft it. Let's see. So at least we're getting something a little bit spicier. So May is gone. Do you guys have quarterbacks? No, he doesn't have a quarterback. So he's probably going to take. See, so here I'll take Devontae. Let's try Devontae on this one. So okay, good. He takes Stafford. See, so now I should hopefully maybe be able to get Lawrence, but I also could get Nix. I also could get Stroud, of course, whenever I want. Here's what we're going to do. Skip the Jags. Oh, man. Should I skip the Jags? No. Let's do it. Let's do Lawrence. Go Jags, baby. Duval. We are Duval fans in this household, at least right now. Anyway, also, I just want to say, where was this kind of? Hold on, I missed it. Robbie Avila sweatshirt. Yes, sir. We got the slew hat, Robbie shirt, slew off of the biggest win in slew basketball of forever. And I think I've made this known that I root for the St. Louis Cardinals. I root for the St. Louis Blues very, very strongly. Slew basketball is my like, everybody needs like a thing that they're like, I know that this is stupid, right? And I mean, best ball is one of them, but that's also turned into a career. So I need something. I need a dumber, a dumber fascination. St. Louis University basketball is. We have season tickets. I watch every road game like a fucking maniac. I get the TVs and stuff on the other side of this wall that you guys can't see, like pacing around, yelling at the TV, clapping like a madman. They're good. They're going. This is the best slew team in forever, led by Robbie, and so I'm very, very excited. Very excited. Beat VCU on the road last night. It's a great day. It's a great day to be a Billiken. This is awesome. Ben says, "Mom and cousins are slew grads. Go Billikens." That's pretty incredible. You don't run into a lot of Billikens in the wild. Obviously, I did not go to see. My wife did though. That's kind of how I met my wife. What's Slew's seeding looking like early? Well, so they're 30. Okay, hold on. Pause. Okay, this is pick 28. Let's make sure we get Strange. So see, here's another one where we really need to make sure that we get that tight end spot locked up. It's not that I don't want Brian Thomas, but if something went awry and we had to figure out a panic move, not having BTJ is much more acceptable on this team than not having Brenton Strange, because then it's just over. Right, there are really no other tight ends. Dallas Goedert and Brenton Strange run every route. Well, there's nobody in between BTJ and, right, from an ADP perspective. Purdy don't care. Kincaid obviously don't care because we're drafting the Jaguars. Jennings, I told you I'm fading the Niners. I took some Jennings one-offs earlier, and with double bye teams and whatnot, I feel so stupid. Obviously, Henry gone. Parkinson don't care. Darnold don't care. Loveland, okay. But we'll get BTJ. We got our Super Bowl here. Get our finals teams showing on the right-hand side with the draft tacker. Trevor Lawrence, Saquon Barkley, A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, Brian Thomas Jr., Brenton Strange. Pretty good. And on this team, this is one where there are not NFC teams available late that I particularly love. So I'll take some swings on some, like I'll still be happy to draft a Super Bowl opportunity with a Bears or a Packers or whatever. But I'm not dipping into the Panthers, and I'm not drafting these shitty Rams for the sake of drafting the shitty Rams. And we'll see on the Seahawks here in a second, right? The Seahawks are in play here. That's probably where we move to. But also, if you wanted to just say, I've made my bet on my Super Bowl. This is it. This is one. It's another thing where a month ago, I don't know that that's a great tactic to say these 6 guys are my Super Bowl. Let's move on and just juice this thing up for the first round or two. But now I think you can, because you're all in Jaguars, right? And you're really all in Eagles too. Your first 6 picks went to all of those guys, and your quarterback is on here. What are you going to do? Backstack Aaron Rodgers? You could backstack Aaron Rodgers. Bo Nix is still around here. That's viable. Taking Bo Nix, but then you really hurt your advancement potential, right? 3 of your 12 guys are going to be on bye then. Nix and a tight end and a wide receiver will be on bye. It's okay. It's not bad. But those are these are all the people want, right? The rules, give me exactly what to draft it, at all times. And these are all the million different things, despite the fact that we have these tools and stuff that are telling me correlations and exposures, and I can see my Super Bowls in real time. I don't have to think about all this stuff. There's still a million other things that are going through your brain when and there goes Bo Nix. I don't have that even available to me. I don't have much Christian Watson. How about if we do the Packers beat the fucking Bears? How about the Packers beat the Bears on this team? How about that? I haven't built many of those. Why can't you like Jennings as a one-off anymore? Doesn't he project well this week on DK with no Pearsall? I'm just fading the 49ers. I think it's fine. Jennings has been putrid this year. He's just catching touchdowns. The Eagles defense is really good. The Eagles defense is really good. So that's the big thing for me. But I think it's okay. Let's see. Yikes. I have the 2 tight ends. Oh boy. I should have mapped this out better, guys. Oh no. I'm literally panic clicking Kenny Gainwell. This is why you don't stream and talk to the chat and everything. While you're drafting, I think Gainwell's fine, but because like even this team is like okay advancement wise, right? Like we have 3 Eagles, but like all 3 of them aren't gonna like be the nuts. Maybe 2. Lawrence can have a good game, right? Strange can have a good game. BTJ, okay, have a good game. Also, I thought I had 2 tight ends. I'm a moron. This team is like just it. I'm not going to have anybody on bye, and it's okay to advance. That's how hard it is now. That's the difference. Again, like a month ago, if you drafted, your leeway to worry about what is advancing was so much more. Right now, I'm like, ooh, Eagles better drop a lot, and then I don't have Jalen Hurts, right? So Lawrence better have a good game. You know, and it better not go all to Goddard. I better get the touchdowns. It's Will Shipley. Who just took Will Shipley? Oh my gosh, South, a man after my own heart. Playing it up to the host. Eagles rested and wanted Niners for a reason. No pushback from me. I would also want the Niners. Okay. Here's a fun one I do sometimes. Double tap the Steelers running backs. Right? Obviously, I don't want the Steelers to make a Super Bowl run here because we bet on the Jaguars. But why can't Steelers win a game, even possibly 2, and it all flows through their running backs? It's an Arthur Smith team. Aaron Rodgers, half his targets go to their running backs anyway. Let's see. Go get Dobbs. As I said, we decided that this team, we're betting that the Packers are going to beat the Bears, and I need the wide receiver help. A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, Brian Thomas, Christian Watson, Romeo Dobbs. Cool. 2 more picks. I only have Brenton Strange at tight end, which is okay. Not a lot going on at tight end anyway, so maybe we'll just let it rock. Brenton Strange. We need 4 games, brother. The greatest run of your life. Let's see, has he had 4 good games in a row? Just for shits and gigs. I mean, I don't know that I would call them good, but he's had 4. He's played 4 games in a row. Are you full fading CMC bold? But I like it. I am. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I do have a non-zero amount, but it's like a couple. It's like a couple of teams total from earlier when you got to test things out, right? See, like, can I take? And this was before I knew that they were playing the Eagles, where I would and I haven't built a single thing for the 49ers to make the Super Bowl. It's a bunch of one-offs from those guys. I just want to put Jaden. I have not drafted Jaden Reed yet, huh? Put Jaden Reed in the queue. Go back to the ranks real quick. Yeah, Jaden Reed's fine. I know I just talked about Brenton Strange going on a run for me, but I'm going to put Freiermuth in the queue. No, not Higgins. Yes, somebody brought up Dotson. I have 6% Dotson, and it just feels so bad every time. Like, look at this. 2 zeros, 3 zeros, 4 zeros, 5 zeros, 6 zeros. 6 zeros with he caught 1 touchdown. Jesus. Gadsden, that's a good one. I'm gonna. I respect the Gadsden call. Is he? Did he go? No, he's here. I'm gonna take Freiermuth just because I bet on the Steelers already, but MJM, this is a good shout. Gadsden to boost up the tight end spot. I'm taking Freiermuth. Just kind of the same concepts, right? Get to spend on something here to hopefully boost me up for again for 2 rounds. And tight end was probably the best spot to do it. And I've already bet on Pittsburgh. It's disgusting. I don't like it, but I do have a bunch of Packers and Steelers on this team. Nothing like betting on 2 of the 3 worst teams in the playoffs, but nonetheless. One more. I need to for our good friends over at Drafters, I need to make sure we do a Drafters team. Because I don't know. I might do something on Saturday morning, but I'm undecided as of this moment right now because I talked about it. I'm a big college basketball fan, and we're in the thick of conference play, and I'm very excited for all of it. But we will try to win this 50K over here on Drafters. I think I sent my. I need to do more. This is like maybe my 12th team on Drafters. I always like save the Drafters, and I don't know if this is smart actually, but I always end up saving Drafters stuff for closer to the end because, frankly, it's open. Whereas I'm more worried about the other stuff closing. But I don't know if that's smart. If I need to get in earlier. And I'm not going crazy. I definitely want to hit the 20. You know, if they have their hold on one second. If you no, here we go. If you go in here, if you go into Drafters, you click on the tournament, you go to milestone bonuses, you can see when you'll get free tickets, right? So I've already done 10. They give you a free ticket. You get to 25, you get a free ticket 50, you get a free ticket 75, 100, 125, and then 150, you get $100. So you get a bunch of free tickets along the way, which is always nice on Drafters. Yeah, I think this is 12, 14, not even close. Good job. But I'm definitely going to get to the 25, which I guess then would give me to the 26. I don't know. We'll see if we can get to 50. What an epic username. Ghetto Farmer Boy says, I've been overweight to the buy teams on Drafters and vice versa on DK. I don't know if that is a common strategy, but seems logical. That's interesting. Overweight on cumulative, underweight where you need to advance. I think that's reasonable. I'm sorry guys for making you watch me draft a bunch of Saquon teams. But the interesting thing about the buys on Drafters, and I had a good run up in Drafters playoff best ball last year too. Of course, didn't win. I don't know. I can't remember. 20th, 25th, something like maybe even higher. I can't remember. On cumulative, you don't need to like have the highest scoring team in round 1. You need to put up a good score, but like, how do we describe this? I know what I need to do. You know what I mean? And you do know this on DraftKings too, but it's harder. I just know I need to fill out a reasonable score. I don't need to win my pod or whatever in round 1 on Drafters. I know I need to put together a reasonable score. So fill out your lineup. Get me to round 2, right? Is the thing on both sites. But on Drafters, the get me to round 2 is like, just keep me in the game. I don't need to win, right? I don't need to finish 1 out of 6 or whatever in my group. I just need to put up a score, right? Put up something in round 1. Now get me to my bye week teams, and now let them take the wheel. Oh God, you guys are going to be so sick of watching me draft the Eagles, and then you're going to make so much fucking fun of me when the 49ers somehow beat them. this weekend. I will say Goddard was returned to practice yesterday. Limited. He was limited, but returned to practice. So I have I know he sat out week 17 with the ankle, but I have no personal concerns about him in this week. So we'll see. It's my AIM screen name from around the year 2000. Yeah, it sounds about the right when I was still using AIM. My AIM username. So I wore the number 3 in high school, 13 in college. But before that, before high school, I always wore 24 for Griffey. And I can't say that because one of my dog's names, Griffey, he'll come running in here. But for Ken Griffey Jr., I wore number 24. My AIM screen name was E Beim, right? Because Erik Beimfohr. E Beim Baller 24. I was why did we put why when I was 10 years old or whatever did I decide to put baller on the end of it? I don't know, but I did. So that brings back some memories. Dial-up internet, mom getting mad because can't use the phones because Eric has got a sick away message on AOL. God. We get the Eagles start here. That's phenomenal. Sam says this is and one baller and _1 _baller. What was it? Baller was the term, I guess, right? We were, yeah, because baller was balling back then. We were baller was like what would be the equivalent to the term baller? We always used to say baller. I've just said baller like more times in the last 30 seconds than I've said in so long. That's so funny. How about a Parker Washington team? We haven't gotten him yet today. Lit, yeah, is lit. I don't know that I've ever really said lit before, but that's because I'm 37 now, not 17. So I don't know. Sire says drafters is cumulative scoring, right? Yes, I should have said, but I kind of tend to lazily assume that people know drafters is really fun for playoff best ball. So I'll make sure to bring back some shows, either whether I'll fit something in tomorrow or Saturday morning. The beauty of drafters for playoff best ball is, right? So there's no advancing pods. You need to score the most points over the entire tournament against everyone. Your opponents are everyone that drafts into this tournament. So how you put that together is crazy. You still want to have like I'm actually going to draft Bretton Strange over Brian Thomas, and I might still draft Brian Thomas if it comes back to me. But then, like, how much do you put into round one? How much do you put into the teams that you've stacked up? It's so different because the deciding round could be round 3 for all that you know. And it's like, cool, you got the Super Bowl, but you didn't have the guys who went off in round 2 and round 3. So you didn't win, right? He says as he drafts just a bunch of teams that are just a bunch of guys from 2 teams. But like, that's it, right? There's a little, I don't want to say there's more strategy because it's not true, but there's a different strategy to the cumulative scoring. Like, I literally have to finish first out of whatever 17,000 people. I got to beat 17,000 other teams who's scoring the most points over the course of the playoffs. That it can't possibly just be right 4 guys from this team and 4 guys from this team and 2 from this team and 2 from this team. I mean, technically it can, but that seems pretty fucking unlikely. Yeah, so we're gonna take Burden. We just did a Packers team. Let's get back to the Bears. Let's get back to the Bears. I do feel like that game that game could decide. I mean, it could decide a lot of things in playoff best ball, but in cumulative, right? That's probably going to have points. 2 not very good defenses, 2 pretty good offenses, cheap pieces in drafts, and someone has to advance. So you're getting multiple games out of those guys. Now, the second round matchups are probably not going to be very good. Seattle, Philly. And I know that I'm the one assuming Philly gets through, but it is what it is. I am assuming it. But 2 games. And damn it. And the winner of that game, if they have a good, right, if like Burden has a big game and you get 2 games out of him, he could be the decider of the, or it's Swift or it's Loveland. But the flip side could be true. It could be Josh Jacobs. There's a winner in that game that it's a big deal. Let's get Kenny G. I told you we're going to keep making this Steelers bet, and I don't fucking like it. I don't like it at all. But it's happening. I think that the Steelers are just a straight up like really good pick on that is not what we wanted. We're set to default. Yeah. On cumulative, especially because you talk about like lowly drafted players can have a bigger impact on drafters, where I just need to find points that someone else isn't scoring. I need to pair my guys together appropriately, but that's like really difficult to figure out, right? How do I perfectly mesh all these guys, like layer them all together? I wish I knew. This game would be really easy if I knew that one. I don't have let's do Dobbs, and I know I have Burden, but let's play into that. Let's just lock one of those guys up. Lock up a wide receiver who theoretically has a good game in round 1. Now I get them in round 2. I already have my Super Bowl, right? That's the beauty of this, is my Philly Jacksonville Super Bowl is filled out. Now we're figuring out how to piecemeal this stuff together to give me a bunch of hopefully huge games in round 1, but of course as many games in round 2 as I can. If I have to sacrifice someone to the fantasy gods in those rounds, cool. I'm going to do the double Steelers running back thing again, and then hit 2 wide receivers to close here. So we'll be at 1 quarterback, 3 running backs, 6 wide receivers, and 2 tight ends. Let's just add some guys here so that I don't screw this up too bad. Metcalf, useless. Trey Harris been balling. Trey Harris is going to be such a smash. Whenever the big board opens, whatever Trey Harris's price is, it's going to be multiple rounds too cheap. Multiple. You enjoyed the Mike McDaniel era? I don't know what there wasn't that much to enjoy. The very beginning was fun, I guess. The first 12 to 15 games of the Mike McDaniel era was pretty fun, I think. Okay, what wide receivers do we want here? I could do the Chargers thing. I don't really. I guess maybe I do need round 2 wide receivers. Yeah, if these guys can't cover round 1, we're in pretty bad shape. So let's get Bryant to make sure I got right. Dobbs, Burden, Parker Washington, AJ Brown. Like if we're not getting 2 good games out of those guys, and obviously Saquon we're pretty set in round one. So let's make sure we get somebody into round two. And of course, the Broncos can give us juice. Which I guess then I should also add Mims in here just to be safe. Miles says, my big board teams are all going to be Burden, Harris, Tate, Lemon. No pushback from me, brother. No pushback from me. I'm with you. It's fun while it lasted. Glad it's over. The Mike era says, love stars. Okay. Metcalf went. T-Mac went. I wonder if QJ or Mims is better here. QJ could win too. Let's do QJ. Let's do QJ. Towing that line of, obviously, Mims would give me another the Broncos, full Eagles Broncos Super Bowl. That's the thing where I'm weighing from a cumulative perspective. How important is Marvin Mims' 3 projected points? Obviously has upside for more than that, but how important is Marvin Mims' couple of points in the Super Bowl relative to QJ, in theory, being able to play 2 games and add more points to my team? I wish I could tell you. I wish I had every single answer, but then this channel wouldn't exist because I would just play the games and not tout the advice, right? If I knew absolutely everything about how to optimize every single team. I think that one can go both ways. Ultimately, I made the bet on Jags, Eagles as the main Super Bowl. I think it's a little bit better in the playoff formats. Like, I think in the playoff format, Mims makes a little bit more sense there. Whereas in this one, I like the QJ one-off. But like I said, I think that is debatable. We went Jalen Hurts, Saquon Barkley, Kenny Gainwell, and Jalen Warren. As you guys saw, I like this Steelers double running back thing. A.J. Brown, Parker Washington, Luther Burden, Romeo Doubs, Pat Bryant, Quentin Johnston, Dallas Goedert, and Brenton Strange. That is going to wrap us up here today. If you guys could hit the like button on your way out, if you could drop a comment, any of your favorite predictions, favorite teams, favorite players. You hate the fact that I'm fading the San Francisco 49ers and the Buffalo Bills. You hate the Philadelphia Eagles. All that stuff, of course, is great for the algorithm, which we much appreciate. I'll make sure to get another stream either tomorrow or Saturday morning, probably Saturday morning before the game, so we can draft some more teams and get ready for wild card weekend. But enjoy your Thursday and your Friday. Make sure you hop in the Discord, subscribe to Spike Week, all that fun stuff, right? We would love you to come hang out with us more often and enjoy your drafts for the rest of the day. Make sure you get those millies in and all these contests before they fill. And I'll see you guys on Saturday. Cheers.
Woo! Those were some spicy takes. Want to stay up to date with all of the other spicy takes we're going to have over here at Spike Week? Why don't you press that subscribe button below? You turn notifications on, we draft a team, boom, you know about it. We have another spicy take, boom, you know about it. You can be there. You can draft with us. You want to stay up to date? That's how you do it. All right, we'll catch you later next time here at Spike Week.